There isn't one art world, there are several. This is Blackbird Rook, writing a weekly essay on contemporary art and the culture around it. Quite often, collectors introduce me to a friend or relative and ask whether I can help them to navigate the art world. I always pause, because the problem is embedded in the question. People talk about the art world as if it were a single system, a place with a shared set of values, a recognizable hierarchy, and a clear route in. In reality, there are several art worlds running alongside one another. They overlap like a Venn diagram, but are often barely speaking. I ran fine art degree programs for nearly 20 years, including a progressive professional practice module, and I've watched a lot of hopeful artists trying to work out where they fit. Without experience, it really isn't obvious. So recently, speaking to an aspiring artist, I tried to do something quite simple. Instead of talking about success in abstract terms, I sketched out the different art worlds as they actually exist, largely through the kinds of galleries that sustain them, and asked her a basic question: which one are you aiming for? The first world is the oldest, and in some ways, the most clearly defined. The Old Masters and Antiquities world. This is a world built on scholarship, attribution, conservation, and provenance. Value here comes from history, rarity, and expert consensus. The galleries are often discreet, the collectors knowledgeable, and the language precise. It's worth mentioning only because many people new to art imagine that all art worlds operate with this level of clarity and authority. They don't, and for living artists, this world is effectively closed. You don't enter it. You age into it, centuries later, if at all. Next is the blue-chip modern and post-war world, the territory of Hockney, Bacon, Motherwell, Rothko. This is dominated by the secondary market. The work is no longer coming from studios, but from collectors trading with one another through galleries, fairs, and auction houses. Prices are established, careers are complete, and risk is tightly managed. Many emerging artists imagine this as the destination. In practice, it's a different ecosystem altogether. The galleries here are asset managers as much as cultural actors. Their job is to maintain confidence, control supply, and protect value. It is not an entry-level option. Then there is the world that many encounter first: high street chain galleries. This is retail. Luxury retail often, but retail nonetheless. Mickey Mouse, Marilyn Monroe, Hearst prints diamond dust and graffiti aesthetics. Familiar imagery repackaged as spectacle. The business model is volume, brand recognition, and margin. The people working in these galleries often come from luxury goods backgrounds rather than art. They are selling a product, and the art follows the market rather than the other way round. Some people enjoy this work and want it in their homes, and that's their decision. But it's important to be clear about what this world is. It has little to do with artistic development and a lot to do with lifestyle consumption. It is transactional and often dishonest in its pricing and practices. This is where you most often encounter Ponzi schemes and unjustifiable price inflation. If the art world was a regulated market, these galleries would be in trouble. Happily, every few years, one of them oversteps and is shut down. Sitting slightly outside what most people mean by contemporary art is another large and often overlooked world: provincial and traditional fine art galleries. These are the galleries you find in market towns and smaller cities. They deal in serious painting and sculpture, landscapes, interiors, still life, figurative work, competent abstraction, bronzes by skilled sculptors, modern British painters whose names are not widely known. There are many of these galleries at the London Art Fair. The work is often good, appealing, and priced within reach of a broad audience. This world exists partly because the UK has never fully embraced contemporary art in everyday life, in the way some European countries or the US have, and there is a substantial audience here that values skill, beauty, and recognizable forms. This world functions without headlines or hype, but it sustains a great many artists over long careers. Then we arrive at what people usually mean when they talk about the contemporary art world. And even here, it fragments immediately. At the top end are the A-list galleries, those that dominate the art fairs like Basel, Frieze, and the international circuit. A relatively small number of artists circulate here, collected by a relatively small number of buyers. Capital moves quickly. Careers can inflate rapidly, and attention is intense. Careers also crash. What I often find striking is that some artists operating at this level have no institutional or critical grounding. This is often a world driven by confidence, scarcity, and momentum rather than long-term cultural consensus. At the very top level, it is a billionaire's art world, where they trade baubles between each other. At the other end are institutionally oriented contemporary galleries and spaces. These are often academically rigorous, curator-led, and conceptually ambitious. The artists here may show in museums and biennales long before they sell consistently, if they ever do. Cultural credibility is high, but commercial viability is often secondary. Most artists here make their way through residencies and teaching rather than sales. Between these poles is the contemporary art world that I spend my time in. This is where serious, thoughtful artists build careers slowly, where galleries work closely with studios, where prices are accessible but ambition is high, where artists might show in modest spaces, artist-run venues, or small affairs, and where collectors are buying work they love, to live with rather than to flip. This world includes B-list and emerging galleries, project spaces, artist-run initiatives, and hybrid models. It is messy, uneven, and unpredictable. There are no guarantees. Talent matters, but so does persistence, professionalism, and timing. For an aspiring artist, understanding this landscape of art worlds matters far more than chasing an abstract idea of success. Each art world rewards different things. Each has its own economics, values, and gatekeepers. It is a mistake to assume they are all part of the same ladder. They aren't. They are parallel systems, and choosing where to place your energy, as an artist, collector, or viewer, is an important decision. If you have thoughts or experiences of moving between these worlds, I'd love to hear them. For more information, visit Blackbird Rook on Substack for Outside the Studio, a professional practice guide for artists.